Good morning, guys. Today we will be studying the human breathing system. Our objectives are to understand the design of the respiratory system, to differentiate between the upper and the lower respiratory tract, to describe the air passageways in humans. The design of the respiratory tract. The human gas exchanging organs, the lungs, is located in the thorax, where its delicate tissues are protected by the bony and muscular thoracic cage. Bony and muscular thoracic cage means the rib cage. In front of our body there is sternum, which is the powerful and the strong bone, with the central bone, and connects both the ribs with each other, and to the dorsal side they are connected to the vertebral column. Inside this cage our lungs are protected with these delicate tissues. Like the muscular part of this are the intercostal muscles, and below is the diaphragm, and above there is the bony part that is known as the sternum and the rib cage. The lungs provide the tissues of the human body with a continuous flow of oxygen and clears the blood of the gaseous waste products, carbon dioxide. The gaseous exchange occurs inside the lungs, like the carbon dioxide, which is a waste product and produced in the process of respiration, is expelled out or expired out from the lungs, and oxygen is taken up into the lungs. Okay, the division of the airways. There are two divisions of the respiratory tract or the breathing pathway. One is the upper airway system and the other one is the lower airway system. The upper airway system consists of the nose, the oral cavity and the pharynx, and the lower airway system consists of the larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles and the alveoli. Here are the diagrams of these two systems. The first one on the left side is the upper respiratory tract, and on the right side it's the lower respiratory tract. The first part of the respiratory system or of the breathing system is the nose. Nose is in direct contact with the atmospheric air, or the atmosphere from where it gets air. Air goes inside the body and first enters into the nasal cavity, where there are different structures found in the nose which helps to purify, to warm and to filter the air, and to make the air moisturize. So these all functions are carried out in the nose with the help of the structures which are found in the nose are the hairs, the mucous membrane and the blood capillaries. So these three structures, they perform different functions, and they perform very vital and very important functions. Like the function of the blood capillaries is to make the air warm. The function of the mucous glands present over there is to make the air moisturize, and the hairs function is to filter the air. So hairs and mucus, they both combine, they perform a combined function of filtration of the air. They filter the air and trap the dust particle and all the contaminants which are present in the air. The suspended particles which are present in the air, whether they are molds, pollens, bacteria, other microorganisms or dust particles, all of them are trapped in the nasal cavity. Not all of them, but up to certain extent it becomes clean. Then the air goes into the oral cavity. Oral cavity is just a connection between the lower body or internal body organs and the atmosphere. And oral cavity is not used usually for breathing mechanism or for breathing purposes, but sometimes it is used, like when we did some heavy exercise and we need more and more oxygen in emergency condition, then we breathe through our mouth, because the one and only advantage of breathing through the mouth is the shorter distance. Like the distance from the atmosphere to the lungs is shorter from the mouth than from the oral cavity, but it didn't perform the other function of purification and moisturizing and making the air warm. These are all the functions of the nose. Then is the turn of pharynx. Pharynx, also known as the throat, is a muscular funnel that extends from the posterior end of the nasal cavity to the superior end of the esophagus and larynx. Esophagus is the tube, food pipe, and larynx, it's the opening of the windpipe. So the air tube and the food tube, or the pipe, they both, their opening, the first point or the junction point of them is known as the pharynx. Epiglottis and larynx. The epiglottis is a flap of elastic cartilage that acts as a switch between the trachea and the esophagus. Then whenever we eat, whenever we drink, or whenever we breathe, in all these three conditions, epiglottis helps our body. It protects our lungs from the liquid and the solid part of the food which we eat or drink. So whenever we eat or whenever we drink, epiglottis become closed. It protects the opening of the larynx or the trachea, that the solid and liquid particles didn't go inside it, while it becomes open, or it gets open when air comes in or when we breathe. So during breathing it becomes open, and during drinking and eating it becomes closed. And larynx, it is also called as the voice box. Voice box are the sound box. There are some muscles present in the larynx. Due to the contraction and relaxation of those muscles, we produces different types of sounds. So the sounds which we produce are basically comes out of the larynx. Air comes out of the trachea or from the lungs, and when it passes through the muscles of the larynx, they vibrate. They vibrate in different intensity and produces different sounds. So we can also like make different sounds by our own choice by making our the muscles of the larynx to vibrate. Then the larynx leads into the trachea. Trachea is a long tube about 3.9 to 4.7 inches long, or 10 to 12 centimeter long, and 2 centimeter or 0.8 inches wide. It consists of 16 to 20 characteristic C-shape or horse-shaped, shoe-shaped, incomplete cartilage ring. Cartilages are soft bones which are present in the trachea. You can touch your trachea if you touch your throat. So, and the dorsal wall, the wall behind the the wall which is in front of the esophagus, or which is in contact of the esophagus, it is made up of smooth muscle because of the presence of the esophagus, and it provide a free entry of the food from the mouth till the stomach. The mucosal layer, there are some other cells found in trachea, just like the mucous membrane and the ciliated cells. The mucous membrane are the goblet cells, and the ciliated cells are also present in the trachea. The functions of these tracheal ciliated membrane and the tracheal goblet cells is the same as the nose. They both make the air warm, and they both make the air filtered and then pass it to the lungs for exchanging purpose. Trachea divides further into some fine branches which are known as bronchi. Bronchi are smaller than the trachea, but yet they are have a large surface area. So these bronchi are also made up of cartilaginous rings, C-shaped rings, and these bronchi, they enters into the both lungs, the left lung and the right lung. Inside the lungs, they give off further branches which then distribute all over the lungs. The first branch which arises from the bronchi is known as the secondary bronchi, and then secondary bronchi then gives further branches and split up into further smaller branches which are known as the tertiary bronchi, and tertiary bronchi again split up into further smaller and microscopic tubes which are known as the bronchioles, and bronchioles then at the end joins into the bunch shape small sac like structures known as the alveoli, where gaseous exchange occurs. Here is the diagram of the lower respiratory tract, and which shows the trachea the bronchi, the primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, tertiary bronchi, and then the bronchioles. Finally, we have alveoli. We have like millions of alveoli, these microscopic sac-like structures in our lungs, and the function of all of them is to exchange gas in between the blood and the alveoli, or inside the alveoli the air is present over there. So these alveoli are also provided with the minute blood capillaries, and these blood capillaries, they carry deoxygenated blood from the heart, and here it becomes our exchange of gases occurs inside the alveoli, and hence the blood become oxygenated. So the deoxygenated blood enters into the alveoli and it becomes oxygenated, and then it leaves back again and then brought to the heart for distribution into the bodies. So exchange of gases occurs inside the alveoli. Here is the diagram of the alveoli. You can see that the bronchiole, which ends into a bunch of sac-like structures called as the alveoli, and these alveoli, all over the alveoli, it is surrounded by the blood capillaries. And here you can see two types of blood vessels, one is the blue and the other one is the red. The blue one carries blood from the heart, which is called as the pulmonary artery. It carries deoxygenated blood from the heart, and if you can see in the junction, it becomes red, and that red blood again go towards the heart. It is called as the pulmonary vein. So pulmonary artery, it brings deoxygenated blood from the heart, and pulmonary vein, it brings back the oxygenated blood to the heart from the lungs. Lungs are a pair of large spongy organs found in the thorax, the chest cavity, and there are two lungs, the left lung and the right lung. And both lungs are protected inside the rib cage by some minute thin membranes, which are called as the pleural membranes. And the size of both lungs vary. Like the left lung is smaller than the right lung. There is a difference in the size of and shape of the lungs, the right and left lung, because the left lung, it consists of 2 lobes, and the right lung is made up of 3 lobes. The left lung is made up of 2 lobes. Why? Because of the positioning, the asymmetrical positioning of the heart. Asymmetrical means that the heart turns towards the left slightly, due to which the left lung has 1 less lobe, like it has 2 lobes, not 3. Here is the structure of the lungs. As you can see, the right lung, it has 3 lobes, and the left lung, it has 2 lobes. Thank you for watching, guys.